All right. Good afternoon and welcome to Headline Hits with LW. Today is Thursday, January the 13th, 2022. It is another beautiful week here in Idaho. I hope you all are having a great day. We're getting close to the weekend, folks. We're getting close to the weekend. But let's just dive right into the headlines because I got some hot ones for you today. Let's get to the goodies. All right. Let's start off with China. China insists no lockdown for the Genocide Olympics as more regions go under. All right, so I read this article, checking it out, and organizers of the official 2022 Winter Olympics said Tuesday the games that is hosted by the city of Beijing have no plans to lock down any sections of the capital to prevent the spread of the Chinese sickness during the event scheduled to take place February 4th through February 20th, despite mounting lockdowns in the surrounding areas. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is one, I used to be a big time Olympic fan. I loved watching the Winter Olympics. I just really love the competition, to be honest with you, and the Summer Olympics as well. But my problem with this is every suburb, so to speak, around Beijing has had lockdown after lockdown after lockdown. I mean, they've locked down now 5.5 million people. They can't drive, they can't commute, they can't go to work, they have to stay in their houses. They can barely even go to the grocery outlets there to get necessities that they need. But we're going to go ahead and push the Winter Olympics. So let's dive a little further into this. Beijing won't need to be sealed off for the games next month. One of the spokesmen for the 2022 Winter Olympics makes statement, and I can't even say their name, so I'm not even going to try. So they reported this yesterday, and they actually went on to say that they have put the 22 Winter Olympics organizing committee to create a sickness-free bubble for all the athletes and personnel participating in the games. Had added contribute to the alleged stability of the virus situation in all the national capital and all the surrounding areas. So why am I bringing this up? I'm bringing this up because, again, it's kind of like going to your local restaurant and they tell you, well, sir, you have to put one of these dirty diapers on to walk 4 feet over to your table. And then once you sit down, you can take that off because I guess the sickness, the virus, takes a pause during the time of you eating. So I guess in this situation, when all of the surrounding area in China is being locked down, 5.5 million people are now under medical tyranny. We can continue these games because I guess it doesn't affect people there. As long as you're part of the Olympics, you're good to go. All right, let's move on. We're gonna talk more about China here, and we're gonna talk about Saudi now partnering with China, and they're partnering on a big scale here. Which I'm going to go further into the article and talk to you about. The United States also have partnered with them, and so has the UK. So Saudi Aramco sets up shop in China to push non-metallic construction materials. Why is this important? Because it's China for one, and they are everywhere. They are really flooding our market with all their products. And we keep talking about manufacturing in America and bringing everything back to America. Well, there's other countries out there that are now partnering with them, and we're one of them. Okay, so Saudi Aramco, the extremely wealthy national oil company of Saudi Arabia, on Wednesday announced the establishment of a non-metallic uh, excellence and innovation center. So it's the NEXCAEL in Beijing to promote the use of alternatives to metal and construction projects. Now, I won't read much further into this because I already read the entire article. So basically, they've come up with alternative construction materials. It's supposed to be part of the green low carbon solutions and the global sustainable development. They've been working on this for 20 years, folks. This isn't anything brand new. They claim that they've been putting this in their own projects in China for 20 plus years. What I found a little disturbing is Saudi Armaco has similar partnerships with the United States, with the American Concrete Institute, and the United Kingdom with TWI Global and AD NOC and Dubai as well, national oil companies. So lots of partnerships coming out of Saudi Arabia, and now they are partnering with China. So just something to think about there. Let's move on to the next article. This one here I find very interesting, caught my attention. So let's dive into it. Hans von Sparkasky, I don't even know how to pronounce his name. He was on with I think it was Breitbart News Daily on XM Radio yesterday. And he talks about Democrats push big lie of voter suppression and to make it easy to cheat in elections. Okay. So let's find out what he's talking about here. Narratives of voter suppression are a quote big lie end quote used by Democrats and the broader left to pretext the undermining election integrity. He also so Vons is the manager of the Heritage Foundation's Election Law Reform Institute and senior legal fellow of Mies Center for Legal and Judicial Studies. He was on with Breitbart yesterday, and he goes further to say, and this is just part of their same old game plan. Democrats and the broader left regularly frame racism as America's social pathology, informing policies of voter suppression to undermine the and violate the voting rights of Black citizens they characterize as racial victims. He also goes on to say that Democrats use this false narrative as a justification for legislation they frame as the advancement of voter voting rights. Now, I've already talked about this a couple of times, and I think there's another article I'm going to bring up that ties into this as well. He makes the statement that it's just a big lie. And why are we even putting this lie out? Well, to push through legislation in Congress that would take over the election, listen to me, process across the country and basically get rid of every safety and security protocol that states have put in place, like voter ID. They want to make it easy to cheat in elections. So I started reading even further into this, and he starts talking about that there's already laws put in place for this. And he goes further to say, I think you'll find this very, very interesting. During the Obama administration, when they had control of the White House, they had control of the Senate, and they had control of Congress. So they could have made a lot of moves. They could have made a lot of differences, right? For voter suppression. Would you agree with me on that one? Well, they didn't. So what did they do in those 8 years they were in office? Well, here it is. So there's so little racial discrimination going on these days that during the entire 8 years of the Obama administration, when they had complete and total control of the Justice Department, despite all their rhetoric, they only filed 4, I repeat, 4 lawsuits across the entire country claiming that some state or locality was discriminating in voter context. So if it was so great, such a huge deal of voter suppression, why didn't the Obama administration do more than what they did? Just a question. I think it's all BS. I'll just leave it there. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about the rhetoric that's been spewed out this week. Durbin, perhaps Biden went a little too far in his rhetoric in pushing for the voting bill. So we're gonna dive into this. He was on CNN's Wednesday, The Lead, the communist news network. Who is he? He's a Senator Dick Durbin. He's a Democrat. I'm probably saying his name wrong, and I don't care. He's a Democrat from Illinois. Discussed the President Joe Biden's speech in Atlanta a day earlier promoting congressional Democrats voting legislation. In the speech, Biden suggested opponents were akin to forming Democrat Alabama Governor George Wallace and self-declared segregationist in the height of his popularity. Well, if you remember correctly, during the campaign of the last election cycle, it was brought to our attention that Biden himself was for segregation way back when he first became he entered politics, and even his VP complained about it. Kamala Hillsup Harris, she complained about it, that she was one of those little girls on the back of the bus that got segregated, and Joe Biden himself pushed for that bill. He was part of that. So then he goes out and makes these ridiculous claims and statements. And this is quote from Biden's speech. Do you want to be on the side of Dr. King or George Wallace? Do you want to be on the side of John Lewis or Bull Connor? Do you want to be on the side of Abraham Lincoln or Jefferson Davis? End quote, Biden. According to Durbin, Biden's comprage, I can't even say that word. Anyway, he was going a little bit too far with his rhetoric. It is stark, and I will concede that point. He makes statement. Perhaps the president went a little too far in his rhetoric, and later he added, "Some of us do, but the fundamental principles and values at stake are very, very similar." So even his own people called him out on his speeches that he put out this week. One of them dealing with the Atlanta colleges when he made these speeches in front of all the black students. Just a bunch of crap. Thought I would bring that to your attention. So let's roll on with McCarthy here. McCarthy has been in the news pretty heavy this week and last week. So McCarthy makes a statement. I have concluded to not participate with Nancy Pelosi's J6 committee. He goes further to say the House GOP leader Kevin McCarthy, Republican from California, announced on Wednesday that he has concluded not to participate with Representative Nancy Pelosi, Democrat from California's J6 selection committee. I want to read this article to you because it's pretty interesting. McCarthy cited Pelosi's unprecedented action of rejecting the Republican members he named to serve on the committee is one of the reasons for his decision. So in his press release, this is what he states. The committee is not conducting a legitimate investigation as Speaker Pelosi took the unprecedented action of rejecting the Republican members I named to serve on the committee. It is not serving any legislative purpose. The committee only object is to attempt to damage its political opponents, basically weaponizing the DOJ, right? So he says, acting like the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee one day and then the DOJ the next. The committee has demanded testimony from staffers who applied for their First Amendment permits and has postponed the call records of private citizens and their financial records from banks while demanding security not supported by law. It has lied about the contents of documents it has received. It has held individuals in contempt of Congress for exercising their constitutional right to avail themselves from judicial proceedings. And now it wants to interview me about public statements that I have shared within the world and private conversations not remotely related to the violence that unfolded on the Capitol. I have nothing else to add. I'm going to leave it there. He goes a little bit further, but it's always a witch hunt for these people. always a witch hunt, and they definitely go after Republicans with no mercy, no mercy. All right, let's move on to the next article here. This one here is a little bit heartbreaking and disturbing, so I'm just gonna warn you now. So, a Texas woman was charged after police find toddlers hogtied and caged. A Texas woman was arrested by authorities, they say, and found a 1-year-old girl hogtied and a 2-year-old boy enclosed in a playpen and locked in a bedroom in San Antonio residence. Priscilla Ann Salsis, 37, the child's temporary garden, was taken into custody on Tuesday and charged with 2 counts of child endangerment, and according to KSAT, which is the news outlet there. Authorities discovered the children in the residence on the 400 block of Bailey Avenue on Sunday after a woman requested a welfare check on her grandchildren who were locked in a bedroom. The reporters from KSAT report, and I'm going to go a little further on what the police chief said. So this is what they found when they arrived. We arrived at scene and had to breach the door to the bedroom to get in. And this is the police chief, William McMathis, during the news conference. Inside, they found a 1-year-old girl who was bound, hands and feet hogtied, hands and feet bound together, black eye, bloody lip, and the little boy, a 2-year-old little boy who was in a playpen that was covered on top so that it looked like a cage. Both children were heavily soiled, crying, and were taken into custody and turned over to CPS. So this was on ABC Channel 7 News, and they reported that the children were home alone. Oh, so sad and heartbreaking. Just thought I would let you guys know that was going on in Texas, but we're going to move on to the next article. So this one here, I talked about this several times. The Manhattan DA, Allen Bragg. So now we're also going to talk about the new appointed governor of New York, you know, Cuomo had to step down and resign. She's filling his shoes for right now, and now she's backing this DA. So Representative Lee Zeldin on Governor Kathy, I can't even pronounce her last name. I don't even care. Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg are prioritizing criminals over law-abiding citizens. This is just horrible, and I've reported on this twice now. So the governor, Democrat from New York, and Manhattan's district attorney Alvin Bragg's prioritizing criminals over law-abiding citizens. The Representative Lee Zeldin, a Republican from New York and a Republican candidate for the governor of New York, said on Tuesday's edition, Sirius XM with Breitbart News Daily. He makes these remarks. He lets people know that he is disgusted with it, and so am I. So Bragg's recently imposed left-wing decrees to reform arrest and sentencing policies. It goes further to say that Bragg instructed his staff on Monday that his office will not seek pretrial detention or prison sentences for criminals other than, these are the only ones that they will seek any kind of incarceration. It has to be homicide, public corruption, and a few other exceptional cases like rape, anything like that. I think another one was assault with a deadly weapon that caused serious injury. That's it. Everything else is off the table. If you are in Manhattan and you are a criminal, you have got a free pass at this point. It's disgusting. All right, let's move on, and we're going to talk about the RNC, and we're going to talk about more election laws. All right, the RNC warns against Democrat election reform. Freedom to Cheat Act will incinerate voter ID laws. Let's read about it. Republican leaders warn against the latest Democratic push for federal election reform on Tuesday, pointing specifically to the bill measures about voter ID and same-day voter registration. Okay. Now, I've had many discussions this week back and forth with people on both sides of the fence about nothing's going on, things are going on. Um, we can't vote in 2022 unless we fix 2020. I'm telling you right now, all the research that I'm doing, there are things happening. Okay, don't lose your faith. The Republicans are fighting. Yes, I know they're spineless. I know they don't have stones a lot of times, but for some reason, I'm researching and I'm finding that these people are getting involved at this level and they are pushing and then they are fighting back. Of course, on the other side of the fence, the Democrats are trying to ensure another steal. They are. Not going to lie to you. So, Republican National Committee Chairwoman Ronna McDonald and National Republican Senatorial Committee Chairman Senator Rick Scott, Republican from Florida, ripped into the federal election reform proposals pending before Congress during a call with the reporters just ahead of President Joe Biden's visit to Georgia on Tuesday afternoon. We call it the Freedom to Cheat Act, McDonald said. And she's speaking of the Freedom to Vote Act, which Senate Democrats are hoping to pass against Republican wishes by changing the 60 vote filibuster rule. Now, remember, they keep attacking this. They really want to do away the filibuster. That way they can have all clear roads and clear path to the destruction of America, in my opinion. It eviscerates state voter laws, which 36 states have passed now. Listen to me, folks. I just told my friend yesterday it was 23. Now it's up to 36. So 36 states have now stepped up and said, no more of this. We're not going to allow what happened in 2020 to happen. We are now stepping forward and we are going to make changes. That is really good news. That is hope, folks. So the chairwoman goes on to say this bill eliminates states more secure voter ID requirements, replacing them with a process that is rifled with the F word. I can't say the F word, but you know what I mean. It's the stuff that happened in November. The sweeping bill would order states with voter ID laws to widen their aspect forms of voter identification to listen to this to allow for several alternatives, including forms of identification that do not contain a photo. Why is that? Why would they not want a photo with an ID? What is the cause behind that? We all know. I'm going to go ahead and move on, but I'm just telling you, things are happening now. This one here, I'm just gonna give you guys a forewarning here. This one could be a little graphic. So if you do have children around, anybody listening that doesn't want to hear this, it is sexual in nature. So I'm just kind of forewarning you there. Canadian school board cancels the event with, and I can't even say her name, but she won the Peace Prize. She is a former ISIS sex slave. And they canceled it over Islamophobia. All right. A Canadian school board recently caused an uproar after withdrawal support from an event that was featuring this activist and former Islamic State ISIS sex slave, a Nobel Peace Prize winner. And I can't even pronounce her name. I'm not even going to try. Out of concern, it could foster Islamophobia and offend Muslim students. The Toronto District School Board, TDSB, decided to pull the book club event scheduled for February after it planned to feature a discussion around a 28-year-old lady, Nobel Peace Prize winner, who wrote a book called The Last Girl, My Story of Captivity, My Fight Against the Islamic State, which describes her fight frightening capture and enslavement by ISIS terrorists in 2014, as well as her daring escape. It also goes in the autobiography goes into work and the details of her family's execution, as well as repeated rape and torture she endured as she was exchanged among ISIS militants. The reason for the cancellation, according to the board, was that the book could promote Islamophobia and offend Muslim students. The book club, which she was supposed to be featured, was founded by entrepreneur Tanya Lee in 2017 and invites teenage girls from various secondary schools to discuss books with their female authors. After being informed of the cancellation, Lee herself suffered sexual and physical abuse as a child, and sent the board superintendent Helen Fisher information about the ISIS gathered from CNN and BBC. So of course they'll put that stuff out, but they won't allow other people to have discussion about this. They want to suppress it, in my opinion. But anyway, I think Canadians are on an uphill battle here, and we want to just give them our support. So let's move on to the next headline hit. We got 2 to go. This one here really caught my attention. I think it's important to talk about this too, because 50,000 migrants have just vanished. The DHS cannot account for 50,000 migrants released in 2021. Data released by the Department of Homeland Security show more than 50,000 immigrants released. Now, listen to this: released by the agency with the instructions to report to ICE, the ICE, once they are at their desired U.S. location and they failed to do so. You can't make this stuff up. The notice to report to the NTR process was instituted to help the Border Patrol ease detention faculty overcrowding in 2021. The federal disclosure covers the period between March and August of 2021. Of more than 270,000 migrants released by the DHF, roughly 104,000 were placed in the NTR system, which I can't even make this up, which trust the migrants to voluntarily report to ICE at their intended U.S. destination to begin the deportation process. So we're just trusting them. We're just trusting them to just show up at these places and say, hey, listen, here I am. I'm ready to go back home. Are you kidding me? Who the heck is running our government? All right, here's the big one. Red-handed. I found this very interesting, and I want to hit some data points on this. So it begins Collision's reading release of Peter Schweizer's blockbuster investigation. Listen to this, folks. This is hot. Politico Playbook exclusively reported Wednesday that publishing giant HarperCollins is preparing to release the next investigation bombshell book by 6-time New York Times bestseller author Peter Schweizer, titled Red-Handed: How American Elites Get Rich Helping China Win. What does that mean? Who are they talking about? All right. Red-Handed remains under a strict embargo until its January 25th release date. That's when it's coming out. January 25th. I'm going to check this out, to be honest with you. The book cover, which Politico obtained a copy of, features photos of President Joe Biden and the Chinese Communist Party leader Xi Jinping, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Democrat from California, former House Speaker John Berno, or whatever his name is, Republican from Ohio, LeBron James, Elon Musk, Henry Kissinger, and Bill Gates. According to Politico, Red-Handed will expose the bad actors on both ends of the political spectrum and their willingness to do China's bidding. Now, listen to this. This is very important. This is key. Given the best-selling author's investigative track record, the book's subjects may have caused for concern. Why is that? Because Peter Schweizer's Clinton Cash sparked an FBI investigation into the Clinton Foundation. His last 2 books, Profiles in Corruption and Secret Empires, each hit #1 in the New York Times bestseller. It exposed how, listen here, it exposed how Hunter Biden and Joe Biden flew aboard Air Force Two in 2013 to China before Hunter's firm inked a 1.5 billion with a B deal with a subsidiary of the Chinese government bank of China just 10 days after the trip. Now, this has been brought up several times. It's amazing how lamestream media never picked it up during the election campaign of 2020. They never spoke of it. So this book is getting ready to be released on January 25th, and I think we should all check it out. Now, will this lead to any kind of investigation? I don't know, but this book talks about insider trading. It kind of points out Pelosi, Elon Musk, LeBron James, and other elites out there, Bill Gates. It points them all out. So is this something that might bring around an investigation? Lord, I hope so. I really do. It's about time that we start winning on some of these other fronts. And I'm excited to see what direction that will help bring things and turn things and see what road it goes down. So thanks for joining me today, guys, on Headline Hits. And we'll catch you tonight, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 6 Mountain Time. See y'all.